Something fresh.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Two Spanners. Today we've actually got the Mini in. Got a couple of bits that have actually been sitting around for a little while that need to be fitted. And we're going to at least try and get the Go Fast Bits dump valve that my wife kindly got me for Christmas. Thanks, babe. I'll grab the box in a minute. We'll do a quick unboxing in front of the camera just so you can see what comes with it. Looks like a really lovely bit of kit, to be fair. And to be honest, price-wise, I think they're just over £100 off the top of my head. It's the full recirculation version. I think they do one that partially vents to atmosphere. But if I remember rightly, because these have an electronic actuator on the wastegate, like a little solenoid on the recirc valve, sorry, not the wastegate. This is all tied into the sort of traction control and the electronic stability program, so they don't like dumping all of the excess boost to atmosphere because it's got that little solenoid on there. ECU's not a fan. So, but this one is a full recirc one because I'm not really that bothered about it making whooshy noises and things. It's mostly because the stock recirc valves, as with a lot of the stock recirc valves with the little rubber diaphragm, they do like to split, and this one is making that little bit of a squawky noise when you change gear, which usually tells you it's got a bit of a split. If we get a chance, there are a couple of other things I might try and do today. I've got a Diverter gearbox mount that needs to go on, but it's all down to time, to be fair. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're enjoying the content. I know it's been a little while since we had some mini stuff in. I hope you're enjoying it, enjoying the Corsa content. We really appreciate the support. Any likes, subscriptions, click the little notification bell. It helps the channel out loads. We're going to go get the dump valve now, and I'll come back and we'll go through all the little bits you get with it. Apologies, I'm not going to be able to get the best camera here because I want you to actually be able to see the thing, and my face is not that important. So, Gfb, Go Fast Bits. As far as I can see, decent quality brand. It's not the cheapest by a country mile really, because there are some real cheap sort of adapters and things out there. But you know, tried, tested, comprehensive. You'll see in a minute when I open the box, it's got everything you need in here rather than just an adapter or whatever. For those of you who don't know, they have a little solenoid to operate the recirc valve on these R56 Minis, and it's all tied in with the ESP program. So fitting a full atmospheric dump valve is a no-no. The cars don't really like it. There are some options out there, I believe, from Turbo Smart where you can go full atmospheric, and it has got a little bit of a loom in there and everything to deal with the engine management light that you'll get from it. But this is a tried and tested bit of kit. There are lots of decent power builds running this exact valve. I think, if I remember rightly, there are two versions of it. This one is a full recirculation valve, and I do think they offer one that will vent a little bit to atmosphere for a bit of noise, but also still doesn't set the engine management light off. But I'm not too fussed about adding any more hisses and whistles. I'll be honest, with the little short intake I've built for this, see previous video if you haven't already, it already makes some quite satisfying noises really. So we'll quickly open the box so you see what's going on. So you get this lovely little sleeve, and inside the sleeve we've got the actual pieces of the kit, and as you can see, it comes with everything. Nice new bolts that I think are obviously going to be a little bit longer and whatnot because of the thickness of this housing. You've got the piston here, you've got the heavier spring for behind the piston, you've got the new bit that's going to go on the end of the solenoid and the plunger, and then you've also got what I believe to be a slightly heavier spring than stock that will sit behind this little plunger here between the solenoid and the plunger. So yeah, lovely little piece of kit. The finish looks lovely on it, looks really well manufactured, and again, some of these ones that are a little bit more expensive, again, this is by far and away not the most expensive. You can double the price of this with some of the brands. This is tried and tested, you know. What you pay for a lot of the time with these sort of higher end tuning companies is the fact they have spent some time actually testing these things for longevity and performance, rather than just waiting for somebody else to do that and trying to do a carbon copy. So not only you're probably going to get a higher quality product that performs a bit better, often you tend to find that you know, you do get the you know, a more comprehensive package, and ultimately with things the way they're going, I want to support these companies that are putting the effort in still, trying to make stuff for us petrol heads, you know, not just companies that are carbon copying stuff that they've spent time in the R&D on and then just trying to make a quick buck out of it. You know, obviously they're a business, they need to make some money, but companies like this, they're passionate about tuning, you know. So that's that, and it's definitely worth showing you this as well. I apologise in advance, this is a new camera, so I'm playing with some settings, Chris is playing with some settings. Hopefully we'll get there. I'm really hoping it looks a lot better than that GoPro, especially indoors, because the light sensor on this is huge. So in the box as well, you get a nice little sticker if we can get focus, which I think is quite nice. Again, something you often get from the higher end brands as well. And then you get this nice little set of instructions. Full comprehensive installation instructions, which is excellent. Again, pictures, everything, something that's often omitted from the cheaper ones or is very basic. As you can see, this is the kind of layout. That's the stock electronic solenoid. Here's the new slightly longer screws you're going to use. That is the stock O-ring. Here is the newer GFB slightly heavier spring, the GFB plunger, the GFB housing, the new seal, which is already built into the housing for you, as you can see there. Refocus please, camera, thank you. And then you've also got the heavier spring for the piston. So I'm going to crack on, start pulling some bits off. I'll probably stick you on time lapse because I'm waffling again and this video is already going to be too long. This is why Chris often gets in front of the camera, because you don't waffle away. And you know, there's also a little bit of evidence there too, you know, just a write-up of some of the testing they've done with their product. So again, that's if that doesn't tell you that this is a tried and tested bit of kit and they've put the effort in, I don't know what does. So once again, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate any likes and subs, really helps the channel move forward. We'd like to do a lot more of this, but you know what it's like, we all need to earn a wage and whatnot, and anyone that's tried this YouTube stuff, it's not easy to earn decent money, so we're doing it as much as we possibly can. A few bits waiting on the Corsa at the moment, so we will catch up with that soon when a few more bits come in. Exciting stuff, because that is hopefully going to be possibly on its wheels and drivable in the next maybe month or so, so keep your eyes peeled. But in the meantime, we have actually got a load of bits sitting around for this thing, so we're going to do a little bit of content on that in the meantime. Once again, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to crack on. Hope you enjoy. Right guys, here we go. So here's my little intake I was talking about earlier. You can see a bit more about this in a previous video, just look in the mini playlist. Basically the coolant tank is now up there because we've removed the airbox. There's plenty of space up there. It's not actually fitted on a bracket or anything. I just have changed the shape, you know, cut into it and made the shape of the sort of panel on the back of the firewall there to match the little shape of this little bit here. If I can get the camera in there. So, oh, excuse me. So if you look in here where this is sort of held to, yes, it is cable tied at the minute. I'm making a heat shield for it, which will also act as a bracket coming soon. So you can see there's a little tab there and a little tab there, and obviously that corresponds to the little tab here and here. And there's usually a little bolt to stop it bouncing around, but I'll be honest, it's held in place by the bonnet being shut up here, and I haven't had any problems with it. So it clearly, as you can see, occasionally is touching the bonnet. So, you know, at some point I am going to get a little alloy header tank made up that just will clear the bonnet perfectly. Again, I'm not worried about it personally. You know, this one's not a show car. I smash its head in around the back roads and that's what it's for. And you know, with it being a sunroof car, it's not a track car, but sometimes it's nice to just go for a bit of a drive in it and that when the sun's out. Again, you know, this is all kind of work in progress, R&D, so bear with us, but we'll take you along for the ride as we keep improving bits or coming up with bits and bobs. So obviously you'd usually have a stock pipe coming up here going to an airbox where this is, so you just remove that. But in this instance you've got my intake here. We'll take this intake away, and just under there you can see the little solenoid Maybe. No, you can't because it's so pitch black, but I'll show you when I take this off. And that solenoid under there is what we're going for. So I'm going to crack on and time lapse you now, and we'll catch up with you in a bit. There's a stock one. I'll be honest, this little O-ring doesn't look in the best of nick. So we'll give that a clean up, and we'll probably put a little bit of oil on that. The old piston. There's 3 pieces in there. For the diaphragm, there's the old spring. And then here is your little solenoid. So we'll put the new bits and bobs on here so you can see what it all kind of looks like together. Give this a clean up obviously first, and we'll go from there. The spring's inside it now. Hopefully my camera will focus. Yep. And then we've got this of the newer pieces, which comes with a GFB piece. Pushes in there. Obviously it's sprung loaded, so you have to kind of press it down, lock it into place like so. We want the big spring in here. If you look, they've got, again, sign of good quality in parts. I'll see if I can macro that so you can see it. There we go. So you can see it's like got like a slight rough finish on each side, which is nice. Just helps everything grip together. Right, here's the piston here, or this little part of the plunger. Make sure it's all clean. So it doesn't actually say about a little bit of engine oil on this part of the dump valve here, but I am just going to put a tiny little bit in there. Like that, just to make sure it's all nice and smooth. Like so. That's sort of ready to go now. Again, nice and simple to put together. So using the stock solenoid, the stock yellow O-ring, again you can replace them on their own. Housing, heavier spring, and excuse me, my camera is trying to focus on nothing. Where are you? Yeah, and again I've just put a little tiny bit of engine oil on the side there just to make this nice and smooth in and out. So we're going to throw it back together now. You've got longer bolts to put in it, make sure you use them, otherwise it isn't going to go through this much larger piece of housing. I'm going to crack on and probably time lapse it, and I'll give you a shout when we're all back together. Right, before we put it back in, I thought I'd just show you a quick look at what it's looking like in here, so you can sort of see roughly, maybe. So you can see that sort of hole down there. That's where your recirc's going in. It'll only really fit sort of one way around, so it's fairly difficult to get it wrong. But if you're not sure, just take some pictures before you get started. Something pretty much sort of done and in there. Just got to pop a few last little bits back together. I think you can hopefully see it down there, back in place. Just going to get our little lube, which is here. That just plugs back on, sort of here. If you can see that. Right, so that's all back in, nice and tight. Again, it's only going into an aluminium housing, so you don't need crazy torque on it. It's not load bearing, you just want it to seal, so obviously you're not losing any pressure there. So yeah, we'll pop everything back together and then we'll start it and see what's what. Slight unforeseen problem, right? I probably should have seen this coming, but where the solenoid sort of sticks out of the housing a little bit more because of the thickness of that GFB, I actually can't get the fucking Jubilee clip on. It's that tight, so I'm gonna have to come up with some. I've got some, you know, steel cable ties that I can gun on there, you know, with a cable tie tightening gun, and I think that's probably gonna have to be the way forward with it, if I'm honest. So again, it's just as good as a Jubilee clip, but obviously you have to cut the bloody thing off every time you need to remove it, rather than it being something reusable. So, but I'll explore what my options are. Sort of going forwards if there's anything else I can do, but I just thought I'd let you know about that, something to consider if you end up with a sort of setup like me. So you've got a slightly chunkier hose down here, that little bit of extra thickness alongside the solenoid sticking out a bit more means the Jubilee clip won't seat all the way home, so just something to bear in mind. Whatever I end up doing as a solution, whether it's temporary or not, I'll show you, so if you want to do this and have this sort of similar setup, you can do so, and then if I make any sort of more permanent changes, I'll just update it on the channel. So I'm just going to bugger about and get this sorted, and I'll come back to you when it's done. You don't need to see me sitting here trial and erroring, but I'll come back and let you know what sort of solution I come up with. So, but yeah, you know, as always, always a potential for things not to be quite black and white, but just bear in mind as well, it's nothing to do with a GFB. The GFB recirc valve is obviously designed to fit with stock stuff, and obviously a lot of the intakes, like from AEM and whatnot, again, they are quite expensive, but they do fit straight on and don't, you know, you're not likely to have any contact issues like this. But again, this is all a bit of R&D for me, so I don't mind if I find little problems like this. It just gives me something to sort of iron out for if we want to, you know, do it in future, or do it for anybody else that's got this kind of car. So I'll sort of crack on and find a solution, and I'll come back to you and let you know what we did. Right guys, all I've done for now is I've just got a like CV boot or, you know, steering rack gaiter sort of tie on here, you know, one of the metal cable ties. I had to double it up as well because I ain't got any long ones at the minute, but it'll work for now and it's much slimmer. So I'm probably just going to get I do these in a slightly wider and obviously longer. I'll just get some of them and use one of them. So if you again have used a similar setup to this and you have the same issue, these will work. Right, that's all pretty much back together now, so I'm just going to pop the bracket on / cable tie for the intake, and then we'll start it, see where it's going. worked. So she starts, there's no engine management light, which is always good. I've got a van in front of me right now, so I can't go anywhere, but when I get a chance, I'll pop out and we'll do a little drive in it. I'm not expecting it to sound a great deal different, if I'm honest, but at least I can be sure that, that the crappy stock diaphragm is not leaking. So, not necessarily a tutorial as such, but if it helps you out, bonus. Really appreciate the support, as we said earlier. Any likes and subs, etc. Any of the other social medias you want to support, very, very much appreciated. I think the next video we're probably going to start doing some of the subframe stuff. Got a Diverter gearbox mount to fit, which will probably be the next thing. And then I want to actually remove the subframe and paint it all and everything. So when I do that, I'll probably do the Vibrotechnics engine mount, the torque mount, which is this little bad boy here. So that'll be in a future video. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.